OK, let's have a look at the papers for you, see what they're making of it all. This morning, the Sunday Times leads with warring Windsor's awkward truce to honour the Queen. The two couples, William and Harry and their wives, put on an unexpected show of unity as they mingled with well-wishers.
That was the Times. And the Sunday Telegraph today, they sort of say the same thing, really. Reunited in sorrow.
In the Sun on Sunday, all for one, feuding royals in show of unity.
In the Sunday People, peace for Gran. That's William and Harry uniting in mourning their beloved grandmother.
The Daily Star Sunday says reunited in grief for the love of their granny.
And it's much the same in the Mirror, reunited for Granny. The minute you saw it happen yesterday, didn't you? You absolutely knew it would be the front page photograph.
Yeah, the Observer has Charles III assumes the heavy duties of sovereignty.
And the Express goes back to the princes and their wives, saying that actually it's William who handed an olive branch to Harry.
OK, let's go through some of those papers then with broadcaster and chef Kevin Woodford and former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall, who are both here. Good to see you both. Kevin, let's start with the Times, should we? And I mean, we've got to talk about the princes, which has seemed a little bit awkward, but I think we're all glad they did it, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's been a travesty that they've had this situation, to be quite frank. You know, and yes, the four of them were walking amongst the crowds and looking at the flowers and chatting to people, and how nice to see that.
What?
Will it continue?
I was going to say, is there a but
well, there is, I'm afraid, Anne, because the cynic in me, you know, can see perhaps Meghan using the title Warring Windsors as the next Netflix series, I'm afraid. And could it continue? Yes, it could continue, but will it continue given that the ghostwriter Moringer, who's a Pulitzer award-winning writer, has produced the memoirs for Harry and Meghan at a time when the most serious rage was happening between the family. Those words were scribbled down. That's gone to print with Penguin Random House, and that's expected to sell in the shops at Christmas time as a major bestseller. Now, how can there be unity and reunion when perhaps some horrific stories are going to come out, coupled with the Netflix series, which we're about to see as well?
That's it. Nobody knows what is going to be said. I mean, Claire, you've been looking at the front of the Telegraph there. It says reunited in sorrow, but are you convinced?
I'm only convinced that Prince William, the new Prince of Wales, is the one who has decided that perhaps we ought to put on a show of unity, because this situation is more than these four people. This is about the monarch. This is about his granny. And I think I like Prince William's attitude to this. However, I do see this as a little bit, we need to get together, but I can't see it lasting. You know, it's reported that they're staying at houses that are minutes from each other, and they haven't seen each other. And in fact, it's quite interesting, actually. I think it was the Sunday Mirror that states that the four of them haven't been seen together in public for 915 days.
But it doesn't mean they haven't seen each other in private.
But I think that would have come out one way or the other. Unfortunately, we live in a social media age.
I mean, would you, if you had a sibling who you knew had just written a book and signed up to do a series, and it was likely to have some explosive things in, because otherwise, why would there be big money paid for it? Would you want to speak to them?
No, absolutely not. And I have a huge amount of respect for Prince William for getting this together and standing out there in front of the cameras, because it's not just the four of them. Every single moment is going to be scrutinised by experts, by the public, by pundits. They're going to look at body language. They're going to look at what they're wearing, how they're dealing with each other. So I think that, no, I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't know many people that would. If I'd had that amount of information put out there about me and how awful my family was, I wouldn't want to speak to that person ever again. So I think this is a really momentous occasion, but as Kevin has just said, I don't think it's going to last, and perhaps that was for the cameras, and then they're not going to speak to each other again until the funeral.
I mean, look, we can overanalyse it. to an extent, Kevin, but I do think, I mean, Anne was pointing out when we got in to work this morning, and I think she's right, that Harry just seems extremely fragile, actually, in all of this. And do you know what? I worry for him.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think Harry probably is very, very fragile. I mean, and you know, you have to consider what they went through as young boys. And granted, William has sort of risen to his role, and I've got the greatest respect for him. I think Harry, this is just my opinion, I think Harry is really being played by Meghan, and I think it's just a shame that Meghan came into the family, to be quite frank with you. I mean, the Sun is saying, for example, that it was William. They were due to do a walkabout at Windsor at 4:15, and an hour before that, it was William who sent a note to Harry saying, look, please, come and join us.
You certainly got the feeling that William was in charge because he drove the car.
Yeah.
And so it must have been William saying, well, we're going to drive down there. If you want to hop in the back, we'll take you, sort of thing. Because it's very interesting. They didn't arrive in two separate cars. It was William was in charge and drove them there and drove them back. But he did do it, and they all did do it. The Sun, I think, rather a lovely front page, because it's all for one, and the one is Gran, and of course Grandma was one. She spoke about one. So it was all for one. I thought that was rather a nice headline.
It's a lovely headline. It really is. I mean, and we all want it.
We all want it, but
to come
wanting
together.
it isn't going to make it
It's
true,
not.
so.
I'm just sorry, but it's not. I can't see it happening.
There it is, all for one.
I know.
Rather clever headline, that one.
Can you imagine how difficult that conversation would have been in the car, all four of them together?
It'd be very awkward.
Probably no conversation.
Absolutely. No radio on nothing.
I also thought it was quite noticeable that Kate kept her distance.
Yes, she did.
William actually got closer to them than Kate did. She kept
That's right, she kept...
Might have been accidental, but I can't help
I don't think so, no. No.
There was a lot of body contact between Meghan and Harry. Harry needed a lot of reassurance
he kept
during
going
that.
to her.
But you're right,
Yeah.
Stephen. He is. I think he's very fragile, Harry. To be honest with you, I think he really is. And even the other day when Meghan was giving a talk in Manchester, and Harry was sat behind her, you know, listening to the talk, he just looked forlorn. He looked lost. You know, he looked like a lost soul. He didn't look like a strong, you know, member of the royal family that was capable of sort of dealing with the situation. He looked very lost.
I mean, it might be a being. Some would use the argument. But I think that's beside the point. If he's ended up in a worse place, he was in a bad place before they left, right? For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And if they've done what they've done, they were meant to be getting away from it all. And if he's in a worse position now, then surely something needs to be done for him. I mean,
Yes, but what they are doing themselves in doing explosive tell-all books and
that's got to stop.
documentaries and things is not going to be good for him. If what he actually needs is family and love and reassurance and a quiet life, then what they're doing is not the right recipe, is it?
No, it's going to make matters worse. By far.
But there was a really beautiful piece in the Sunday Mirror. I think this shows quite how the British public love Harry still, even after all of this. And there's a little lad, Jensen, 6 years old, who struck up a conversation with Harry when Harry spotted the Man United soccer shirt this kid was wearing. And the little boy Jensen said it was better than meeting Cristiano Ronaldo. And I just thought, how beautiful is that? Actually, he will be forgiven by so many people. People just want to look after him. And he's still very much a part of the British institution.
But we loved him before. I mean, before all this happened, Harry was so popular with the British public, you know, because he was...
And they still could be if there weren't the book and the series and the documentaries. They wouldn't.
But it's too late for that, Anne, because it's published. There's no way that
That's
is going to...
They won't withdraw it now.
They're not going to withdraw it. You know, this is big books.
And publishers put an awful lot of pressure on authors to, we want that anecdote. We must have that anecdote.
Absolutely.
The book won't sell without it. You've already signed a contract.
Yeah.
I can see that they might be under terrific pressure not to be able to withdraw anything now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much money been sunk into it, and it's to come out at Christmas, which is prime time for people purchasing Christmas presents. You know, there's a lot of money at stake, and it will go through.
I don't think I'd want to buy a book for a Christmas present when it's just about trashing the royal family.
But on a very, very light note, just to try and lift it a little bit,
Good, please
right?
do.
Let's lift it a little bit.
Oh, please.
There's a great story in the Star, which I picked up, and that is that Catherine Jenkins has been asked if she will do a formal recording of God Save the King, and the suggestion is it will reach #1 in the charts.
Whoa.
No, that was something else, isn't it? I love it.
That would
It's
be quite
It'd be
something.
great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Good on you, Catherine. Well done.
That's quite nice. I
Lovely.
like Catherine Jenkins.
Yeah, she's
Great.
She's very talented.
Fabulous singer.
Wouldn't that be extraordinary if that is #1? But I think we'd all...
That'd be very reassuring, I
Even if you
think.
didn't download it, you'd stream it. You'd
Yeah.
have a listen
Yeah.
to
You
it,
would, of
which
course.
is...
You would.
Which all adds to it all these days.
In your life as a chef,
Yeah.
super chef,
Super chef.
you don't keep bees or anything, do you? You don't know anything about this tradition of telling the bees what's going on.
I know the story. No, it's quite bizarre, isn't it? Really, you know, that's right. The official beekeeper for the royal family.
You had to go and break the news to the bees because you have to tell them what's going
But I
on.
wonder how the bees took it, Anna. I think they'd be probably quite upset.
I would have thought
probably
they
told
would be
them to
upset, but
buzz off.
apparently- Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Waiting
he did.
for that.
Yes, he's been working at that
oh
one.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
but bees, of course, they fly all around and they'll be telling other bees as well,
Yeah,
won't they? So
busy
they'll be
bees.
spreading the news in the bee world. And apparently it's very
It's quite a bizarre story,
I
that.
know. If there's anyone watching at the moment who keeps bees or knows about this, love to find out more. Please do tell us.
Oh, I'm sorry to keep leading on to Kevin about food.
Sorry.
But, you know, it is breakfast time.
Yes.
The coronation,
Yeah.
obviously when that happens,
Yeah.
we don't know if it's going to be end of this year, start of next year, there's going to have to be a dish,
Yeah, there will
isn't
be.
there? Because the coronation from last time,
Yeah, that's
there's
right.
going to have to be coronation something or other.
Yeah,
Vegan.
yeah, could be, couldn't it? Yes. Keep me away from that one.
What do you think we might get?
I don't know. It's quite interesting. I mean, the royal family are quite unique in terms of their tastes are quite simple.
King Charles isn't a vegetarian, is he?
No.
No. I mean, he's organic and everything like
He's
that, but
very
he's not a
organic.
vegetarian.
He's very organic.
Yeah. So that's something very organic.
But something simple, because
Simple,
coronation
because you've got to be able
chicken
to
was
make it
meant to be
yourself.
simple, yet obviously what we got for the Platinum Jubilee was this extraordinarily complicated trifle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't terribly
bizarre
impressive.
thing, wasn't it? But even coronation chicken is the most, sort of peculiar thing, really. I think. It's like.
Oh, I like it. I
no, I
don't
like
like
it,
the chicken, but I like the coronation
I was gonna
bit.
say, I like the coronation.
I like a veggie
It's lovely,
version.
but in celebration of coronation, I'm quite.
Well, any ideas, please keep them coming in. GBNEWS at gbnews.uk.
Well, you might be commissioned, Kevin.
You never know. You never know. I had an absolute joy with Camilla a couple of years ago, where I was responsible.
With the Queen, as we should
Sorry,
now
okay,
say,
okay,
yes.
okay. I'm still getting used to it. Yeah, I'm still getting used to it. What I was responsible for, there was a launch of a ship, and she was the godmother for it. So my responsibility was to produce the royal afternoon tea for 500 guests, which was fantastic. Honestly, it was a really great experience because you could really go to town. You could go completely wild, which I did. And she was lovely. She was charming. She was a really.
So what was your
charming
pièce de
lady.
résistance?
Oh, and there was like.
Cucumber sandwiches.
We went beyond that, slightly beyond that. Yeah. No, there was so many dishes. It was bizarre. We really went crazy. It was a lovely experience. It was a great experience, But she was charming. But I made the mistake. The lady who looks after her. I was in the area in the marquee where we'd set this phenomenal, beautiful afternoon tea setup, and this lady came in and she sort of picked up a plate. She was by herself. She picked up a plate and she went over to start. I said, excuse me. No, not yet. No, not yet. And she said, I'm with Camilla.
That was enough.
Fill your boots, lass.
So that is now the password. If you're anyway, you'd say, I'm with Camilla.
I'm with Camilla.
I'm with the Queen.
I'm with the Queen. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Look, thank you both. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on. Thank you.